Shanks' 25-year plan is finally happening. But what if I told you that he didn't make it up all on his own? Oh no, he had help from the man marked in red, none other than Roger's left-hand man, Scopper GABAN. One Piece chapter 1132 kicks off with the remaining Straw Hats reaching Elbaf. But just before their much-awaited reunion, we see a not-so-small kid come out and greet the giant pirates. It's the same boy who was chilling in the bar with Shanks in chapter 1076, named Colon.
Oh my god, bro.
No, okay, likely pronounced Koyon. Yep, let's just go with that. And oh boy, he's excited to meet the Straw Hats, so he tells the giant pirates to chill for a bit. Sadly, Dory and Broggy say they need to go directly to the upper world, but we quickly come to learn that Koyon is not one to give up easily, so he decides to follow them, all because he wants to meet Luffy. And there's good reasons for this. Shanks. Yep, remember from our last video, we stated that Shanks is the hero that helped capture Loki, who killed King Herald and then claimed Elbaf as his territory, where with the backing of a Yonko would keep any enemies at bay. And Shanks, being the way he is, the locals love him. In fact, this relationship that he develops with the people of Elbaf is somewhat similar to that of Fuchsia Village, where I would even go far to say there are some parallels. Shanks pushed Luffy into becoming a pirate, but it wasn't just his own aura that inspired him. Rather, it was the legend of Gold D. Roger leaving his treasure behind, the One Piece. Likewise, in Koyon's case, Shanks literally did it again, but this time instead of Roger, it's the story of Luffy. Remember, Shanks even informed Mihawk, Whitebeard, and possibly the Gorosei. He isn't shy about bragging that he lost his arms all for Luffy's sake. Shanks put a huge bet, believing Luffy will surpass him and the likes of his former captain, which is something Roger himself prophesied in chapter 968 in front of his crew before dissolving it. And so the amount of respect and belief he has for Luffy is like no other, hence why he told Koyon to remember Luffy's name. But another huge takeaway from this is Shanks now officially recognizes Luffy as an immovable force that will change the world forever. This reinforces ours and the Balls Deep community's theory that Shanks knew what would happen after Luffy ate the Sun God Nika fruit. He knew everything. Now, a couple of years ago, when we predicted Luffy had to be Joy Boy, it was due to us deciphering the Sea King's prophecy Roger overheard in chapter 968. The timeline about the two sovereigns meeting being Shirahoshi and Luffy was spot on, and the line about the whales waiting in anticipation sealed the deal. You know, because right after the meeting had occurred, when Luffy ascends out of Fisherman Island, we see the whales dancing in joy. Now, obviously, it was pretty easy putting 2 and 2 together 3 years ago, as, you know, the Fishman arc was just finished and the events already happened. But in Shanks' case, he didn't know. All he knew was the approximate time frame for Joy Boy's return. Shanks also wasn't present with the others in Laugh Tale, as he stayed behind to look after Buggy. So all the information he gathered was from his crew and the events that happened later on. But what if there was a certain person that guided him through his journey? The obvious answer would be Rayleigh, but you know, he was busy, with Shaki, shacking it up. Plus, he did his fair share by training Luffy, so the more likely candidate that guided Shanks had to be Scopper GABAN. Remember, he was pretty close to the kids in Roger's ship, and out of everyone, Oda depicted him going with the boys to Mocktown for supplies showcasing their relationship. So here's the theory. GABAN told Shanks exactly what they saw in Laugh Tale. And remember the moment that Roger told Shanks something in secret, which made him cry? It could have been how they found Shanks as a baby, his mother, his father, and a sweet goodbye. But with that, Roger could have given him a task, taking the role as a mediator to fulfill his captain's final wish and pass on Joy Boy's will, which was said to be encapsulated in the Nika fruit. After some planning, this led him him to targeting the CP0 ship because he very well knew what it was. It's highly likely that Shanks' original plan was to find Roger's son, Ace, and feed him the fruit, as we know that Roger nonchalantly believed that Ace would be the one to inherit his will, find the One Piece, and change the world since they were just too early. I mean, what other reason would Shanks have to come to Fusho village in the first place? Other than Ben Beckman and Yossup, Shanks doesn't really have anything to do with the East Blue. Unfortunately for this plan, the fruit has a will of his own and ends up choosing Luffy instead. But after seeing how similar Luffy is to Roger, he understood that fate has its own hands to play. Which brings us to why 6 years ago he went to Elbaf, beating Loki and claiming it as his territory. It was to meet Scopper GABAN, who had secured the final poneglyph left in Fishman Island and used Elbaf as a place of security. And One Piece chapter 1132 just might have solidified our theory, because in this gigantic forest of Elbaf, we once again finally see the silhouette of the mysterious person introduced at the end of chapter 1124, who was sitting in Elbaf sipping sake whilst waiting for the Straw Hats to arrive. This time, he is lurking around in front of an approaching grizzly bear. With this depiction, Oda inserted narrations from Louis Arnott, who states, "From the grasses or trees, vines to flowers and insects, fishes or birds, including all the animals, one can only gasp at the sheer size of everything. Fellow explorers, the time you spent here will not be fruitless. However, if I am to record only one thing about the mysterious land of Elbaf, the place where everything is huge, I wish for you to remember my words. Do not prolong your stay in this land for too long. Explorer Louis Arnott." Now, having it stated over the introduction of this character means he must have overstayed in Elbaf, not heeding Louis' advice. Oh, and if you guys don't know who this explorer is, then think back to Little Garden. He's the man who spoke about it in his famous book Bragman. Now, this lurking person is definitely not Louis Arnott, so get that out of your head, as this book was published a while back within the last 100 years. So if you guys are thinking, who is this guy? Well, you need to channel your deep observation hockey by smashing that like button and getting yourself some gamer subs, because as we look closely at the silhouette, we know this person has bushy long hair and wears the Wano Kuni hat known as a kasa. We actually saw this on Kawamatsu and generally in Wano altogether, but iconically it was also made by Ace for Oz Jr. However, to make a clear deduction on who this person is, we need to go back to chapter 631, as on the cover page we see the same person sharing sake with Crockers. Initially, the community believed this person was Shiki. Given the bushy hair and the outer garment, it was a fair shout. But why the heck would Shiki be sharing drinks with Crockers? It just don't make sense.
That don't make no sense.
However, if this person is Scopper GABAN, then everything falls into place. His hair is bushy like the mysterious character, and he does have a close relationship with his former crewmate, so sharing sake like the good old times make a lot of sense. Now, the answer to why GABAN would don a Kasa hat would also make sense if you understand his relationship to Odin. Yep, it's not far-fetched to think GABAN headed to Wano 20 years ago after hearing the death of his friend. He chose not to intervene as he trusted the prophecy he learned on Laugh Tale. So instead, just like Odin, who passed on the message to open Wano's borders to his followers, GABAN decided to help facilitate the return of Joy Boy with Shanks, but of course not before taking a Kasa as a way to pay respect for his fallen nakama in Odin. But from there he went to Elbaf and stayed hidden there for a very long time. Hence why Shanks, before becoming a Yonko, decided to make Elbaf his point of operation. But hey, if all of that didn't convince you, I hope this will, because I believe GABAN is the man marked by flames. This person was sought out by Blackbeard, Kid, and even Law. In chapter 1081 in Kuzan's flashback, Blackbeard stated that this man has the final poneglyph, so hence why he's very important for their final journey to Laugh Tale. Now again, the only people who actually went there was Roger's crew, and it's very likely that Roger gave him the task to hide the final Poneglyph, which Gaban did by taking it up from Fishman Island to Elbaf. This is also backed up by the fact that Shanks is heading straight for Laughtail, skipping the step of meeting the man marked by flames because he already met the man, which is why Kid, before getting clapped, was heading straight for Elbaf to meet Gaban. But anyways, coming back to the chapter, the giant pirates arrive at the Rainbow Road, which is revealed to be painted by the giants themselves using a sunstone. Broggy pulls one out showing the gang, and honestly it's just an oversized cubed shaped glass. If you think about it, the sunstone is similar to a glass prism where the science behind it states that if light passes through a prism, it splits apart with the Roy G. Biv color system. So Oda must have used his degree in anime bullshit science and added a small nod to what we learned back in school. However, there's a deeper meaning to the Rainbow Road as it connects Elbaf to the rest of its world and is a direct inspiration of the Bifrost from the Norse mythology. The Bifrost was used by the Asgardians to connect the heavens to Midgard and was guarded heavily against the Jotun, which is what the giants were called in Norse mythology. However, since Oda has melded the concept of the giants and the Asgardians into one, the people of Elbaf are in control of the Rainbow Road, in which they used to speed run into different parts of their kingdom. Now, obviously the smarter ones in the Straw Hats question the logic of how this works because in reality, rainbows are just refracted light. But like kids, Dory and Broggy says they are meant to be crossed. This fantasy reality that the giants are living in reminds me of Luffy's Nika form, where he is literally creating things out of thin air, making his imagination into reality. The general laws of logic don't apply, and I'm betting after Elbaf, the Sunstone will be part of the Straw Hats arsenal and might help them later on in the future. Now, whilst they head up, they meet Hyrule, who likely was the one that painted the rainbow in the first place to get some meat from the ground floor, where then together they head to the top of the Adam tree. Okay, not exactly on top of the tree, but in the middle, as Elbaf is revealed to have 3 levels. The third and ground level is the underworld, or the realm of the dead, basically where Luffy met Loki, and where the other half of the Straw Hats are currently fighting Road. The second level is where the sun shines the most, the realm of the sun, which consists of a bunch of villages and is where the locals of Elbaf reside. One such village is where Dory and Broggy originate from and where our gang is currently headed. And last but not least, the highest level, or the realm of the heavens, which of course is situated at the top of the treasure tree Adam and is possibly where the Elbaf royal family resides alongside all their treasures. Now, whilst all these crazy shenanigans are taking place, my guy Luffy finds his way into the hands of Gerd, who ends up apologizing for Rhodes' behavior. This leads to Goldberg, who's carrying Sunny by the way, to ask Luffy that he just came from the realm of the dead, right? So what was he doing down there? Well, Luffy starts sweating buckets as he remembers that Loki asked him to keep their meeting a secret. Yep, this is more than a confirmation that Luffy actually fell for Loki's bait and might free him in the end, all for some tea on Shanks. It must be pretty good tea though, but still sounds pretty stupid considering he can learn about Shanks from the locals. But hey, this is Luffy and he isn't afraid of Loki. I know my guy is 100% confident that he can put Loki back in chains if he plays up. But regardless, it seems our gang is finally getting back together, as after Nami's half traps Road, they are reunited with Sunny and Luffy, being carried by Goldberg and Gerd, who has caught the attention of 500. Like, damn, is there any time where he ain't gooning? Now, after smashing up the already smashed up road, Gerd points out the exit of the underworld, where the Straw Hats can then join up with the rest of the gang at Dory and Broggy's village. What's fascinating is that this place has multiple modes of traveling. Leaving aside the Rainbow Road, on foot, these giants can use the bridges to then ascend up using special giant clouds, in which Luffy's gang does, where now all the Straw Hats finally reach Elbaf. With a tear-jerking flashback, Luffy and Usopp remember that 2 years ago they had promised to come here, and now it's finally happening. If you guys want more peak fiction and breakdowns, then make sure to smash the like button and check out this video next.